Joining us now, Michigan Republican Congresswoman Lisa McClain. She is a member of the House Armed Services Committee and Education and Labor Committee as well. Congresswoman, thanks for spending part of your Sunday night with us.
Thanks for having me.
We just heard Congresswoman Cheri Bustos saying that if you pass the Build Back Better program, that's going to take care of inflation in this country. What do you think?
I think she needs to go back to school and get a lesson in economics. Listen, inflation is at 6.2%, which is, I think, higher than it's been since the 1990s.
30 years,
We just passed the infrastructure bill. Now we're going to pass another, the preliminary scores I've heard is $4 trillion. And those are already paid for. I must remind the Democrats that the Americans realize the government does not produce one thing. The government does not produce $1. It first must take that dollar from someone else before they can spend it. And they're talking about spending over $4 trillion when inflation is through the roof. Economics, that does not work. And let's remember, an inflation is a tax on everyone, So at the end of the day, we need to get our spending under control. We cannot spend our way and print more money to get out of this problem.
Well, the president's National Economics Council Director, Brian Deese, says you can fix inflation by spending money. Listen to what he said this morning.
Well, inflation is high and it's affecting Americans in their pocketbook and their outlook. But that concern actually underscores why it's so important to move forward on the Build Back Better bill that Congress is considering. You know, this bill is actually going to address the core costs that American families are facing in childcare, in housing, in health care.
So how is it that Congress passes a bill to spend money, even if it is on housing and child care and health care, and it's going to stop the costs of those items from rising?
Listen, just because you say something doesn't make it true. Listen, I'd love to be able to sit here and tell you I'm a 6'2" blonde supermodel. That's just not the case. Just because you say something doesn't make it true. At some point in time, people have to pay the bills. And how are we going to pay the bills? Are we going to pay them on the backs of our children and grandchildren? And another example I would say is it's like we have a home. And we can't afford the home that we're in right now. So my solution to my husband is, honey, I think we should buy another home. We should actually buy a vacation home because that vacation home will actually help us pay for our current home. Listen, the American people get it. They're hardworking people that have actually had to sign the front of checks. Very different than a lot of people and a lot of politicians in Congress who have never had to sign the front of checks. All they have to do is sign the back of checks. And the American people are wising up to it. Listen, the cost of everything is up. They can't afford this.
According to the latest ABC News Washington Post poll, the American people are not very happy with President Biden and the Democrats in power right now. Take a look at these poll numbers. If asked about their midterm election voting preference, 41% say they would vote for the Democrat. 51% of the adults polled said they would vote Republican. Yeah. That's a walloping when it comes to a midterm election.
Well, at the end of the day, the American people vote with their wallet. And right now, the Democrats have control of Congress, the Senate, and the White House. And look at, in the short 10 months of which that has happened, inflation is up. A botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. We have a crisis at the border. We have supply chain issues. We have labor issues. Crime is up. I mean, defunding the police, that made a lot of sense, right? At the end of the day, could someone explain to me what is going right under the Democratic control?
Well, and then there's the question of what we're teaching our kids in schools. I know you're a mom. You have some concerns about that.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, the teachers and the school boards have always complained that they want the parents' involvement in the child's education. And studies would show when parents are involved, the education goes up. Well, now the parents are becoming involved. And just because they don't agree with some of the things that are being taught and their voices are being heard, that doesn't label these parents as terrorists. I think that's a bridge a little too far, and I think they've pushed the envelope a little bit, is parents should be involved in their children's education. And I think that's one of the reasons why, if you look at the public school enrollment, is actually going down, and there's waiting lists at private educations, private schools, because parents want and actually should have a voice. And it's their right to know what their children are being taught. And I've always told my children this, as well as people that I talk to. It's the school's job to teach our children how to think, not what to think. I believe in people. Present people with the facts, present students with both sides, teach them how to think, and I bet you they can come up with good conclusions on their own.
Michigan Republican Congresswoman Lisa McClain, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.